Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm reacting to Abandoning 8 Worldly Concerns with subtitles from Tsem. So, I'm not exactly sure what the eight worldly concerns are. I'm trying to think if I learned anything from... I'm trying to think if I've not learned anything, but if I remember from my Buddhism class, or my world religion class, which which taught us most of the religions probably, but did have Buddhism in it. But the only thing I remember from that one was the fact that life is suffering, and to give it 110%, essentially, and this one is give it 100, essentially give it 110%, but expect nothing from the results. But the life is suffering was the most impactful for me. So I don't remember if the teacher said anything about the 8 worldly concerns. So let's go ahead and give this video a shot.
Number one, when we do any kind of Dharma actions, when we do any kind of Dharma activities, anything, lighting one incense, making prostrations, making offerings, offering flowers, giving donations to temples, giving dana to monks, sweeping the temple, driving or buying supplies for the temple, or being committee members for the temple, etc., etc. Meditations, chanting, anything. It should be free from the 8 worldly concerns or the 8 worldly dharma. Dharma means conduct. So Buddha Dharma is correct conduct. Dharma itself is just conduct. So the 8 mundane concerns or the 8 worldly concerns. Mundane is of this world. So mundane or worldly is exactly the same. I'll use the words back and forth. So the 8 worldly concerns, we should not be practicing Dharma for these reasons at all. So we should not do any religious or spiritual actions with the intent, motive, that we will receive pleasure for the 6 senses. We will be free of unpleasant things for the 6 senses. 8 worldly concerns: to be free, to become happy when we are praised, to become unhappy when we are insulted, to be happy if we receive any gifts, to be unhappy if we don't, to be happy upon achieving reputation, to be unhappy when we are unsuccessful, to be happy when we are comfortable, to be unhappy when we are not. So any Dharma action should be free of those 8 worldly concerns. If our Dharma is preoccupied with the 8 worldly concerns, there are many disadvantages. When we do any action with the 8 worldly concerns, the act will lead to rebirth into lower realms into the future. Future lives will be spent also with uncontrolled attachments like now. All results of uncontrolled delusions, attachments, and negative states of mind now is a sign that they have not been controlled in the past. So if it was not controlled in the past, definitely the result is that we have not gotten it under control at this time. If it is not gotten under control at this time, then it can only get worse, not better. So future lives will be also spent with uncontrolled attachments. One cannot ever enter the Mahayana path. One cannot reach liberation. So if you do any Dharma actions with the 8 worldly concerns, any practices that you do, you will not gain liberation. One will constantly experience hindrances into one's meditational practices. Hindrances of laziness, sleepiness, procrastination, doubt, instability, and that's the inner. The outer one is financial problems, time constrictions, responsibilities, etc., etc. So when we practice Dharma in a way that the motive is not free of the 8 worldly concerns, then the result, of course, will not be positive. And while we're practicing, we'll experience many inner and outer obstacles. And there will be no fruitioning of our practice except we plant seeds for future lives. The practice becomes only a service to the 8 worldly concerns. So what happens is that when you practice the Dharma with any of the 8 worldly concerns, what happens is that it actually feeds the 8 worldly concerns. So how is that? When you practice the Dharma so that you will be praised, the point of practicing the Dharma is not to be praised, not to be recognized. The point of practicing the Dharma is to reach liberation. So if you help a Dharma center, or you work in a Dharma center, or you do meditations, or you meditate wonderfully when people are around, when no one's around, you pick your teeth, then definitely you're not practicing the Dharma with a correct motive. So when our friends are around, when we gather around, we raise our eyebrows, the whites of our eyes are there, we have great meditation experiences, we see lights, our hairs go up, and our tears come down. The minute our friends disappear, we go out for a coffee break. So I think we're practicing Dharma for praise. So if you're practicing Dharma for praise, the very practice of Dharma leads to wanting more praise, increasing the big ego, therefore leading you to the 3 lower realms. You may think, hey, how can practicing the Dharma lead us to the 3 lower realms? Practicing the Dharma doesn't lead you to the 3 lower realms. Your negative intent before the action leads you to the 3 lower realms. You can sweep out an old folks' home with a good motivation, may this act benefit others. That act will lead you to Buddhahood. You can sit in front of Tsongkhapa and meditate for 5 hours, and meditate on the US dollar, and meditate your economy moves up, and that you can get some wealth faith, some wealth mantra, some wealth puja, and that you'll definitely cancel everything to make it on Sunday for the wealth prayers. Then if you meditate for 5 hours in front of Tsongkhapa, you're meditating for material gain. Meditation doesn't mean fulfillment of your worldly wishes, worldly concerns. Meditation and practice is for enlightenment. So therefore, when we do practice for the reason of getting praise, how can we label that Dharma practice? That is definitely not Dharma practice. In fact, that very act, that very motive makes the act result in fruitioning of more negative karma. So in fact, when we start practicing Dharma, instead of our wish to get praise decreasing, it increases. The more we go to a Dharma talk, the more we know, the more empowerments, the more teachings, the more knowledgeable, the more scholarly we become, the more advanced we do it, the more we can chant, the more we can teach, the bigger our ego, the bigger our pride, the bigger our arrogance, everything becomes bigger. And the whole point of learning Dharma is to decrease those points and, in fact, to annihilate or destroy those points.
So it seems like so far the intent is and this is something that I do believe as well, is the intent of your actions. And this goes along the line with some questionable things I think I said in one particular video about eating animals and plants. It's the sheer fact that, intent matters. If you're eating to survive, it's fine. Like, we're capable of eating these things for a reason. Now, I don't want to go too deep into that, but I do want to make that little statement there. So, but essentially, your intent matters in what you do, whether you're doing it for self-gain, or whether you're doing it to, not necessarily self-gain, but to provide. Whether it's provide for your family or just provide for someone. And providing doesn't necessarily mean that you're there for a long time providing them with stuff, but to provide a service. To sweep their floors real quick and then to be done with it, to help them lift a couch or a TV into a place and then to go on. It's just a little service. You don't really need praise for it, but it's the intent. If you're doing it so you can get recognition, then you're essentially that's attachment too. In terms of how I see that in terms of Advaita Vedanta, is that it's attachment. When you do something, you want something in return. That's attachment. You're attaching your, how do I say, not your ego, but because you're doing something to it, you're attached to it, so you're wanting a return for it. I guess anytime there's an attachment, perhaps there's a return to it, maybe. Well, anyways, there's a return that you're wanting, a praise. Some people post videos online because they want to get all the likes down below and subscribe. But they're doing it for the likes. And if all of a sudden they're not getting as much likes, it's like, what am I doing wrong? Which is this attachment still. When you do something, you want something in return. I don't know if attachment is fully that, wanting something in return, but it seems like it so far. but that could be just one part of it.
So when you go to Dharma, or you practice Dharma with a wrong motive from the beginning, it is not the Dharma teacher, or the Dharma environment that is at fault. It could be your ignorance at fault, or it could be that you know it and you have not applied the antidotes hard enough. It is definitely not the Dharma. I always use the example that if you do not know how to drive a car and the car has a slight accident, it's not the fault of the car, but it's the driver. So if you do not get results from your Dharma practice, it's definitely not the Dharma. It's not definitely the Dharma teachers, it's definitely not the Dharma itself. It's not the center, it's not the Dharma students, it's you yourself. Because if it had no results, our altar should be empty. There should be no enlightened beings there. So we should be prostrating to empty things. And there would be no living enlightened masters today like His Holiness the Dalai Lama, His Holiness the Great Karmapa, His Holiness the Sakya Chinsen, His Holiness the Dingo Kensei Rinpoche, His Holiness the Great Ganden Chirimchi. There would not be any enlightened masters around. Like my master, His Eminence the Great Kensei Rinpoche, there would not be around. But there are living beings around that are enlightened and highly realized and extremely beneficial for others. Even the great Chinese Mahayana master, the nun Reverend Chen Yin in China. Definitely she's advanced in her practice. She's doing a lot more than I can ever do. So she must be advanced in her practice to be able to do that. So there are living examples around us of people who are practicing and practicing correctly. Therefore, how come we are not getting those results? We must ask, point the finger back here, not at the Buddhas, the Dharmas, the temple. Oh, I couldn't listen well because it was so hot and I was sweating. It's not my fault. Or at the Dharma teacher, or at the Dharma texts, or the Sangha. We must go back to the source. If the Dharma or the Dharma teacher or the Buddhas were at fault, as I said, the altar should be empty. But since there are living representations of the result of correct Dharma practice, the Dharma must be correct and we ourselves must be at fault. But we shouldn't be despondent or depressed. If we are at fault, the fault is impermanent. The impermanence is dependent on conditions. Therefore, we can change the conditions and bring an end to the wrong practice and start on the right practice. Definitely we can. So, when we do Dharma practice to get praised or to avoid insults, the very reason we're doing the practice is to get praise. So that's a very low aim, and the minute we don't get praise, we stop doing Dharma practice. So the fault is not Dharma, the motive. But we do Dharma practice to get gifts, and to avoid not getting gifts, to get gifts, to get angpaos and all that. The minute we stop, if we don't get it, we get upset. Again, it's not the Dharma, it's our motive. If we do Dharma for good reputation, oh, he's so good, he's so holy, he's such a good person, he's a family person, he also goes to the temple, and he's so wonderful. The minute we stop getting praise, we suffer, we feel despondent, we don't want to meditate, we don't want to practice, we don't want to go join the temple, we don't want to listen to the Dharma, we don't want to meditate, we become despondent. Why do we become despondent? Not because we have not gotten the results, but the actual reason is because the very motive that we started with out of ignorance was wrong. So the Dharma is not at fault. Then, we wish to get Dharma to receive some material gain, success. So we go to the temple to listen, hoping it will change our luck. We go in front of the altar, kowtow, to change our luck. We make offerings to change our luck. We listen to the Dharma and recite lots of mantras. We go to empowerments to receive great blessings to change our luck so that we can hit the lucky number. Our economic situation moves up. We can get rich. I get a lot of questions from people. I've been chanting and praying, how come my business is not moving up? Because the very reason you're chanting and praying is not for your business to move up. So you are chanting and praying irregardless of whether your business moves up or not. So the minute your business doesn't move up, you go down. Of course, it's a natural human reaction that you feel sad and unhappy. But that's when you should actually increase your Dharma practice, increase your Dharma energy. You should take advantage of the situation. So if we practice the Dharma to move our economic situation up, that our company moves up, we can move a new company, we can do a merger, we can make more money, our stocks go up, whatever, then if that doesn't happen, we become despondent. We have used the Dharma for a very short-term benefit, and we don't derive the ultimate benefit from Dharma, which is freedom from complete suffering, not just business moving up. So when we practice the Dharma for the sake, when we see lamas, get divinations, get blessings, do rituals, sponsor pujas, for the sake of simply receiving wealth, increasing our wealth as an end in itself, then the Dharma has been brought down to a very low level, and the full purpose of Dharma is not fulfilled. So we should not practice Dharma with the intent that it will move our economic situation up, or to avoid the economic situation from going down.
That's what he said. Dharma should be not for fulfillment. The full purpose of Dharma is not fulfilled. The purpose of Dharma is not fulfilled.
Dharma is not fulfilled.
The full purpose of Dharma is not fulfilled. Then the Dharma has been brought down to a very low level.
It's been brought down to a very low level, and the full purpose of Dharma is not fulfilled.
And the full purpose of Dharma is not fulfilled. Oh, okay.
So we should not practice Dharma with the intent that it will move our economic situation up, or to avoid the economic situation from going down.
Okay, I thought Dharma is supposed to be, I'd assume, to be fulfilling, but not in the sense of any kind of gain, but fulfilling in the sense that you are content in life, that you don't need anything.
If we do that, the rebirth will be in a spirit realm. So whether you practice Dharma or you don't practice Dharma, if you're always miserly and selfish and always concerned about money and you will do anything for money, the rebirth will be the spirit realm anyway. But if you practice the Dharma, you have a chance to purify that karma. So it would be better to be a Dharma practitioner who's greedy and miserly and worried about money than a non-Dharma one. Because whether you're a Dharma practitioner or not, you still have the same faults. So it would be better to have the faults and Dharma, and there's a chance that you may not take rebirth as a spirit, and if you do, the time is less, the duration of that rebirth is less. So whether you practice the Dharma or you don't practice Dharma, your problems are exactly the same. Exactly the same. So if you're very sick, if you know a good doctor, and you know a good hospital, and you've been recommended hundreds of times to that place, you can get sick and you won't be as worried because you know that you can solve that health problem. Similarly, if you look deeply, whether you practice the Dharma or not, your situation, your problems arise from karma, not Dharma, not your relationship with Dharma. Definitely not. So therefore, whether you practice the Dharma or not, you have the same problems. But with the Dharma, if practiced correctly, it becomes a temporary remedy to help you get over your problems, and also gives you ultimate methods to get over your problems. How much effort you put into the practice is how much result you will get. So we should practice the Dharma not with any of these 8 worldly concerns. 8 worldly concerns is very, very important. Then, we should not practice the Dharma simply when we are comfortable, when everything's going right, when everything's going wonderful, when money's okay, family's okay, there's harmony. The minute one of that goes out of balance, we stop the practice. Because if we're going to stop the practice because of that, we might as well not even begin, because definitely those things will happen. Why? We are in samsara. We have been in samsara for hundreds and hundreds and thousands of lifetimes, and definitely we have created the karmic causes and dispositions for disharmony, for financial problems, for difficulties to arise. Definitely. But it's out of fear and knowing that those difficulties will arise, we must look for a method. What more superior method than to destroy the fruition, the roots of those karma before they fruition by Dharma practice? So if we practice the Dharma sincerely, we will definitely get the results. And first step is motivation. And our motivation should be upon the guidelines of 8 worldly concerns. So our motivation should be free of those 8 worldly concerns from the very start. From the very start. But don't be even more despondent thinking, well, what about the offerings I've done? What about the danas? What about the pujas? What about the prayers, the meditation offerings on my altar, etc., etc.? Definitely there's benefit. But it will be even more greater and more efficacious if it was done free of the 8 worldly concerns. Antidotes to free yourself from the 8 worldly concerns. And the 8 worldly concerns are basic guidelines for us to follow to reshape and recondition our conditioning. Guidelines, not restrictions. Some of us think, oh, Dharma is so complicated, there's so many restrictions, there's so many minute details. Yes, there is, because we're complicated. We're full of minute details. So the Dharma is an antidote to this. Definitely, the antidote will match the problem. So I've always given an example before that. When we first go to school, examination, requirements, points that we need, getting there on time, doing our homework, etc., etc., years and years and years of constriction and requirements. And that's quite difficult. But when we finish school, the actual regimentation, requirements, and the regulations that we follow lead to freedom. What freedom? When you get your degree, you do any job you want. You pick what you want to do. Same as in Dharma. It's like school. When you follow the Dharma correctly, you follow its regulations and rules. This restraint leads to total freedom in the future. Same. So we shouldn't think of Dharma as walls. We should think of it as very kind guidelines given by an enlightened being to help us follow our life through by. And definitely, it will bring immediate results. Definitely, it will bring immediate results. But the motive must be correct. Antidotes. If one follows the 8 worldly concerns, one is no better than an animal. Because an animal wishes to be praised, receive food, receive a good reputation. The males fight with each other to get the best females. Same. They wish to be very comfortable. They wish not to be unhappy. So what's the difference between we and the animals? Except we do things more in a more sophisticated manner. So we must think that if we practice Dharma or we live our life with the 8 worldly concerns, we are the same as animals, although we are not. And since we are higher and better than animals, we should actually have the motivation that's much better than animals. The object one sees is a projection of one's deluded mind. So everything that we perceive, this is good, this is bad, this is good, this is not good, is the result of our own negative karma. If the object that we are perceiving is inherent in itself, is real in itself, then everybody that sees that object must see it the way you see it. So everyone that sees an object, they will see it differently. The reason for that is because the result of their karma is different.
I was going to say, I mean, we are animals, but it's also true that we should act above and beyond animals. We do have our animal instincts. We've learned a lot, so we are that beyond of animals. Our intellect is what is separating us from the animals. Just we're capable of learning a lot of things. And I guess saying to it almost seems like what it's saying is that animals have desires, things that needs fulfilling, not fulfillment. So sexual desires with the mating and the males fighting, hunger, but that's just to survive. Though that should not be wrong, but obviously excess can be wrong. Um, what else? To be praised? I don't know about that one. I do know animals fight to be the top dog, but that's just for leading purposes and stuff. I think for the most part, like there's the head lion, or the alpha wolf, But that's for to be the pack leader, so everyone knows their roles. When they go hunting, then everyone has kind of a role part. And when you're in a group of people and you're trying to get something done, you generally need a leader to kind of organize things. But I mean, but I do understand what he's trying to say. It's the sheer fact that we shouldn't be acting like animals, but we are animals, but it doesn't mean we have to act like animals either. We have a higher intelligent capacity, more so than animals do, so we should be using that. And I guess not to fulfill our animalistic desires.
Change the object into an object you are not attached to. There is nothing new in samsara. You think. You hang around here, there's nothing new. All the food that you have eaten, you want to eat, you've eaten. All the clothes that you like to wear, you've worn. All the cars you've driven, you've been around. Everywhere. You've done everything. You've slept, you've eaten, you've taken all types of medications, you've gone to all types of entertainments, you've tried all kinds of things. There's nothing new in samsara. You've done this for lifetimes and lifetimes, and when you die, you'll be doing it for more and more and more lifetimes. There's nothing new in samsara. There's nothing exciting to hang around for. There's nothing exciting to be attached to. Everything is the same. So wouldn't it behoove us to actually practice Dharma free of the eight worldly concerns, to become a Buddha to benefit others? Wouldn't that be a breath of fresh air?
I'd say it's kind of sad. I mean, like being exciting for something doesn't necessarily mean, to me, doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be attached to it. You can, um, I'm wondering, like, the way he's sounding like here is that everything has to be mundane, so that you're not trying to receive benefit from something or to be suffer from something. Receive benefit or to get a negative outcome. It's like, oh, I know about this already. If it happens negative, then it's fine. If it's positive, it's fine. My perspective from this is that if it's positive, that's great. I'm happy, and if it's negative, well, try again or something like that. It's not necessarily attached to something, and it's not necessarily that you're looking for how to say it, everything to be positive. Obviously, you want things to be positive, but that if something negative happens, that you're not attached to it, that you become sad or affected by it. Like, I guess for me, be affected by the positives, but don't be affected by the negatives. But the thing is, though, it's not to be attached, because it's kind of like what he's saying, where if you getting praises, so you continue to do it and do it because you want the praise and praise and praise. But you can do something, be happy for the praise, but do it again not because you want the praise, but because it's something good. Because it's just a good thing to do, whether praises come or not. But be happy for the good praise, and don't be sad because there's no praise. It's a Is it a difficult thing to do? I don't think so. I mean, the reason why you're doing it in the first place, not because you wanted praise, is because there's a reason for it. But the praise is just a bonus. Whereas if a person does it because of a praise, then they're expecting a praise, so they'll do it for a praise, and the second that the praise is gone, they stop doing it. Whereas you would continue to do it whether it's a praise or not. It's just the fact that the praise is a bonus.
Then, if we do things on the basis of the eight worldly concerns, we will not have true happiness. In fact, we will have more suffering, whether we practice the Dharma or not. Sufferings come about by wrong actions. Wrong actions come about by wrong motive. So, whether you do the wrong motive and wrong actions through the Dharma or not does not matter. It does not matter. So whether you practice the Dharma or not, if you have the eight worldly concerns and your motive is always wrong, you will have negative results. At least with Dharma, there's a 50% chance. And no matter how hard one tries in life, one will always have dissatisfaction, listlessness, depressions. Because the motive is the same, the method is always the same, and again, there's nothing new in samsara. So it gives you dissatisfaction, listlessness, a feeling of despondency at times. And then you must realize that everything is impermanent by nature. No choice, nothing lasts. What's the definition of impermanence? The definition of impermanence is any phenomenon or any item or any object or any thing. Any phenomenon is any object, thing, place, people, whatever. Any phenomenon. The impermanence means The definition is any phenomenon that is dependent on another phenomenon or dependent on other causes for its existence. Any phenomenon that is dependent on other causes or other phenomenons for its existence. So therefore, people who are attached to praise, and if their happiness arises from praise, the happiness is diluted. Because praise is dependent on a lot of things. It's dependent on our actions, it's dependent on the stability of our actions, and it's dependent on having the stability of our actions and then actually getting the praise and having the people around to praise you. And when you don't get it, you become unhappy. So praise is impermanent. It's not lasting. So if we depend on happiness from praise, we will definitely experience unhappiness again and again and again and again. So therefore, in the beginning, correct motivation is very important. In the middle, correct motivation is very important. And in the end, correct motivation is very important. When motivation is correct, there will be wonderful, positive, lasting results. There is definitely an end. On that logical basis I've just established with your intelligent, educated minds, with your intelligence and your educated minds, I've established the fact that suffering can come to an end. Do you want it to come to an end? It is in your hands. So, we should have the motive to practice the Dharma, to go to a temple, see our gurus, enthusiastically, with perseverance, with great patience, with great love, with great understanding of the great value that can arise from there, by being free from the 8 worldly concerns, the 8 wrong motives, which is a guideline for developing our motivation. And the wrong motivation is also impermanent. It's dependent on causes. The cause is ignorance. Once you have been given wisdom and knowledge, ignorance is cut. When ignorance is cut, the very foundation for wrong motive is cut. So, what's left? Positive motive. It itself is impermanent. Therefore, we should be free we should not have the motivation to do any action, especially Dharma action, to get praise, to avoid insult, to receive gifts, to be unhappy if we don't, to avoid bad reputation, to try to get good reputation, to try to receive comfort, and try to avoid comfort. It should be free of this. The motive should be enlightenment, freedom from suffering for everyone. I will get into that more tomorrow about how to develop that compassion, step by step by step. I will get into that, and it's crucial. It's very important.
I was thinking I guess kind of the problem with that, the motivation part, is the fact that you shouldn't be looking for praise or anything from it, I believe. But the thing is, though, for you to go to like these things, is there is a motivation to it. There is something that you want to gain, enlightenment. So is that an okay motivation, an okay reason why you do things? It's really weird to say that. I will say that it's really weird to say that you're trying to get rid of attachment, but I guess to be a little bit more specific, to get rid of trying to do something and not receive anything in return. Because by going to his seminars or going to his temple, you are receiving something. As a matter of fact, you want to receive that something, which is not the point in becoming enlightened. Is because you're doing things not because you want to gain something, but because it's just, how do I say, it needs to be done, I believe. But again, perhaps maybe that's going a little bit too, I don't know how to say, nitpicky or maybe too much into it. Obviously, we need teachers to teach us how to obtain enlightenment, and that we want enlightenment, which is something that you should not want. Because if you want something you don't get it, you'll be disappointed. You'll suffer. So it's kind of it almost seems contradictory a little bit, but I get it. It's probably okay to have that desire for enlightenment to get you to moving in the right direction. But as you learn these things, you remove that desire. So the initial desire is probably needed to get to the right path. I don't know. I'm not a teacher. I'm not a swami or a guru or anything. I'm just some random dude on the internet. But it kind of makes sense. It's kind of like a relationship with someone. You know, if it's going to be your life partner, then your initial desire for that person because they look really good. That's it. Maybe some people, maybe I look at this where maybe some people are lucky where they talk with this person for so long and they never really found them attracted, but all of a sudden they see how kind and nurturing or whatever it is that they find attracted to that person, then all of a sudden become attracted. But I think most people will find the person attracted first and then try to get to know them. So there's that the wrong way to do it, maybe. But you get what I'm saying. There's that initial wrongness to get us to the right path, probably. Again, not any kind of. I'm just a random guy on the internet, okay, speaking. So, anyways, my reaction to the abandoning the 8 worldly concerns. It's really actually. No, I'm not going to. Anyways, if you like my content, please consider subscribing. Thumbs up, the stand down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.